Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Amir, and I'm excited to get back into the Goon Profiles. Today I'm here with Bad Eye. How are you, man?
Doing all right. About you?
I'm well, thank you. So, as always, first question, when and how did you discover George, and what turned you from a lurker to a goon?
I discovered George on eBaum's World when I was about 15 years old. It was actually about 21 years ago, which is uh, is actually kind of weird and kind of awesome at the same time, if that makes sense. And what struck me about this guy basically was how much of a buffoon he was. Like um, the way he addressed the prank calls, nothing made sense. He was getting laughed at. Only the prank callers were funny, and George was just being a goof. And I could not stop playing those prank calls. I just could not stop. It was the funniest thing in the world to me.
That's super interesting. I had no idea that you had been involved for so long. So, at what point in those 21 years did you become, and actually hands-on in the community?
It was actually super late in the community because I actually, it was only like a little bit after I discovered George that I started talking to the guys who were a part of this, like Sean and Lewis and Yanks, the OGs back in the day.
Yeah.
And and then a few years later, when I just like kind of fell off the map, um, I decided to like join the Facebook groups and like get in touch with everyone again. I've actually attempted to troll George in the past, but he never really noticed me. Of course, he was like too fixated on like the OGs to give a nobody like me the time of day. Um, as far as what convinced me to move from lurker to active participant, um, it was actually like maybe about a year ago, maybe less than that. The simple fact is, I just wanted to join in on the fun. I discovered Tony's live streams, and I decided to like pop in and chat, say hi to everyone, and I got to know the guys a little bit more. And I guess before I knew it, I thought, I might as well join the guys at GoonCon. I think I was the last person to be on GoonCon because originally I hadn't planned on doing it.
Uh,
I was just gonna like sit back, relax. But then I was just like, you know what? I think it would be so much fun if I just joined the guys because it sounded like too much fun. So I I talked to Tony for a bit on what he needed to do to join, and I did, and there I was. I guess I made Goon history very recently.
yeah, and yeah, a lot of great points there. One of the things I've enjoyed most about the Fieldin's WTRD podcast is I feel like, that live chat feature and the fact that they live stream so much has really enabled a lot of people who might have normally been lurkers to kind of get more involved in the community just because it is so fun to chat and interact on those live streams. Is there anything you'd like the Goon community to know about you?
Oh, okay. That's actually it's actually a pretty good question. Let me think. I mean, well, they already know a few things about me. For example, they know I have autism. They know that I'm openly bisexual. Um, but what would I like to share? Um, growing up, because of my autism, I really had a lot of trouble fitting in with people. I didn't have too many friends, and I felt that I didn't need too many friends anyway. Just like a few people that I would talk to. So I wasn't always this open and about. It was actually very, very late. Well, not very, very late. I'm not that old, but relatively speaking, I mean,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, I started to open up more. I also lost like 80 pounds in a year, and that weight loss process is what helped boost my confidence. You know, like I was skinny as an adult for the first time in my life. This was about 4 years ago,
Hmm.
um, and around that time, I I just came out as bi because you know I felt I had nothing to hide anymore, and I actually started getting dates, which was wild to me.
I think it's
It was
really
a
awesome that you lost weight. Congrats on that.
Thank
Taking
you.
care of your health. That's awesome.
I appreciate that. Not
So,
that George would ever know what that's like.
no. Any advice for George who desperately needs it?
I don't want to give that person advice because he's such a horrible person that I don't think he deserves it.
Fair, fair point. No counter argument.
Yeah.
So, for someone who has been engaged with George so long, I'm real curious to know, from a psychological standpoint, have you seen any big shifts over the years from, I mean, just how he responded in E-Bomb's world 21 years ago to how he responds in his YouTube tirades now?
Well, I've noticed that he's kind of lost his luster over the years, especially recently. Because way back then, actually, funny enough, his first tirade that I remember that was on E-Bomb's World, it wasn't like a full on rager.
Hmm.
Did you see it?
The very first one,
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never on E-Bomb's world. That was way before I got engaged in this community. If it's
Okay.
floating on YouTube, I've probably seen it at some point, but yeah, I'm not, like, off the top of my head, I don't know what his quote unquote first rager or first reaction video was.
He had a bunch of trophies behind him, if that helps.
Okay. I mean, if it's in like a compilation Sean made or something, I'm sure I've seen it.
Probably. Yeah, I remember that being in a compilation that Sean made.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
anyway, back to what I was saying. I noticed that he was certainly annoyed, but he wasn't like full on boiling blood angry.
Mhm.
That didn't come until later when he's screaming at people like at his door, come to this door, knock on my door. And I'm pretty sure that a bunch of people have said this in the past, but George responded to the trolls in the absolute worst way possible. Worst
Yeah.
way possible. He's not intelligent enough to know that he's just encouraging them.
Yeah, one of the things that fascinates me the most about George is, and I don't even say this to like troll or be a dick, I genuinely believe this. Every time he comes at a point in his life where he needs to make a decision, he's so consistent about making the wrong one. It's kind of like mathematically impossible what he does. I'm curious what you think is behind his inability to make a good decision for himself and his life.
I think what it basically boils down to is his need and desire to have instant gratification at all times.
Hmm.
And on top of that, I think he is simply unable to have any foresight whatsoever. I don't think he is able to even predict the outcomes of his own behavior because he is such a fucking narcissist and so self-centered that it gets in his own way. All he cares about is satisfying like his feelings, his needs, his ego. It's it's never been about, how do I say it? It's never been about, this is my opinion. It's never been about like improving his station
Hmm.
in life, or about doing the right thing. I think it is merely, um, this may be an oversimplification, but I think it is merely, like I said, a desire for instant gratification, whether it's the feeling of spending a lot of money,
Hmm.
whether it's looking like he's a rich, successful guy, whether it's his need to his deep seated need for revenge.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of the stuff he does is motivated by anger as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great points. I agree with all that. Of the many mistakes George has made over the years, I'm curious, in your opinion, what has been his biggest blunder?
Losing his house, in my opinion, is his biggest blunder, for the very simple reason that he had a free house
Yeah.
and he somehow lost it because he was too greedy. Too greedy. Like, I think he said this in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, but he honestly thought that his show was going to be successful and he was going to use that money to pay back the second mortgage because he just wanted to spend it like an idiot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Also, blowing his father's inheritance would be like second.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to think about how much he went through and how far he fell from that.
Yeah, I cannot imagine, imagine making such a colossally stupid decision. Like, how fucking ungrateful is this sack of shit? Like, his father was not a nice guy, but his father at least was had the means to provide a stable future for his son. And I know this was brought up before by someone, but most likely he had it divvied out because he knew that if his stupid son got a hold of that money, it'd have been gone. And George still got a hold of that money anyway because he was too greedy and too ungrateful for what his father has done for him. And look what happened. He's broke, he lost his house, and now he's a homeless man doing DoorDash full
Yeah.
time in rented vans that in fucking jalopies.
Yeah, I know Angela and Mark have both said that publicly that, George's father had to have that, the inheritance spaced out because he knew George was just going to blow it. And George even managed to bypass that and fulfill that prophecy.
Yeah, if I like had all and I had a free house, I'd be set for life. I would just go get like an easy job and just do that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, seriously. I have a house, not trying to brag, it's nothing fancy, but
Mhm.
oh man, if I had means to pay my mortgage, like oh my god. I can't imagine using that money for anything else but that. Like it like you said, it's hard to empathize with the decision to, hey, I can either pay off this entire mortgage, or I can live in this house for free, or I can take a mortgage out that I'm going to have to pay over 30 years just for some extra cash to go to Vegas.
Yeah, and he didn't even need to take that mortgage out. That was the stupid part. No, like I said, too stupid, too greedy, and totally lacked any foresight whatsoever.
It's tempting to like try and think of all these sexy psychological terms that George may be exhibiting, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's just really unintelligent.
Yeah, honestly, I at one point in my life, I believed that no person was inherently stupid, that we just had weaknesses in some parts and strengths in others. George changed my opinion.
Of
Just a
the
low
many,
IQ numbnuts.
of the many discoveries made by the Goon community, or primarily the inner circle, I'm curious if there's anything we've learned about George that really shocked you, or conversely, is there anything you saw coming a mile away?
Those are some good questions. Something that shocked me? Ooh. I don't know if this would count as shocking, but um, hearing about how he raped Jamie, that that disgusted me and
Mhm.
angered me more than shocked me. I don't know if it's possible to be truly shocked, but oh, you know what? I just thought of it. When he sent that letter to Jamie's parents
Oh, yeah.
after she died, that was just shockingly selfish and ex- inconsiderate. Doesn't even begin to describe it. It just fires me up.
How self-centered he is, the audacity to do something like that. And I know in Saunders calls, I was always surprised how eager he was to admit that he wrote that letter like it was some great thing. I think even to this day, he still doesn't understand how inconsiderate and rude that was.
Yeah, I agree. And the second part of your question, um, something I saw a mile away. You
Yeah,
know, he's just so easy to predict. That's the thing. Something I saw a mile away. Um, I would say his compounding health problems, one after another, because he is completely unable to care for himself.
Yeah, and on that subject, how do you see the rest of Gigi's life playing out?
To be honest, I think he'll be dead in 3 years. I think he's going to die alone because he's alienated everybody in his life.
Yeah.
Um, I believe he's going to die angry and bitter, which, in my opinion, he deserves because he's a horrible person. Um, yeah, I just don't think the man has very long to live, and it's hate to say it, but it's entirely his fault because, like like you and everyone says, he makes the absolute worst decision possible.
Hmm.
Not even when it comes to finances or maintaining friendships or anything like that. But when it comes to taking care of his health, he eats out all the time because he can't really afford anything else. He's stealing bag fries from customers. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And he has health issues that he won't address, like his gunt dong and his like swollen purple legs. Yeah, honestly, I don't think the man has much longer to live.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, he must be part cockroach or something.
um, in these most recent videos he's uploaded, um, it's just so funny to me. The video of him singing honestly, and the most recent video with him and whoever that girl was.
Yeah,
Um, something you said earlier, I thought was super interesting. In looking at George over the years, I definitely agree that like his virility in the videos has his confidence and his masculinity has definitely dropped. Um, in these recent videos, he clearly is just trying to like show the goons that he's still a man. What do you think he's trying to accomplish with videos where he sings a song for 4 minutes or he, you know, has a kidnapped victim in his car?
what is he trying to accomplish? Um, I think he I think he's under the delusion that he has an image to maintain. He saw himself as like this big macho alpha mate throughout the years. And and besides his name, he really has nothing left in his life. Like that persona is really the only thing that he has left. So I think it's tied to who he is as a person, and therefore he cannot let that go. What he's trying to prove to the goons exactly? Ooh. Um, that's a tough one.
Do you think he cares what the goons thinks about him?
Oh, absolutely he does. There's no question about that.
I mean, it feels like he makes videos for the trolls, ironically.
Oh, he does. Even back in his old shows, he would spend entire episodes doing nothing but talking about the trolls. Troll dating episode, anyone? That was honestly, I remember I saw that live with the goons, the troll dating. I think it was the same one where George was doing that karaoke horribly and started cursing everyone out.
Oh, really? You saw that live?
I saw that live, yeah. And we were all we were like all cheering, going yes, yes in the comments when it happened, because I don't think anybody saw him just could have seen him exploding like that on camera. And to me, the funniest part was when it cut to like the break, and you hear George in the background scream to Kevin, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah. Sounds like he slams the microphone down. So funny. Oh my
It
god.
was.
Can you remember what was going through your head? That karaoke segment is like one of my favorite videos on YouTube.
Oh,
I cannot imagine watching that live.
dude, I was ecstatic. I was like, I was giggling like an idiot. I was laughing so hard when I saw that.
Matt, I'd like to get your opinion on the A team, if you have any particular opinions.
Oh, the AIDS team? I call them the AIDS team. Um, ooh,
And I'm especially real interested in knowing because they come and go, and I don't know what it is about George. Maybe the sob story he has is like one of the only weapons he has left. But Kevin, Watt, especially Roger, they seem to come and go. And even though George has publicly insulted them all, or I mean, at least insulted them all in calls that became public, why do you think they keep going back to him?
I think in Kevin's case, he does it both out of obligation, maybe guilt, because they've been friends, in quotations, for so long. And I think George possibly has some dirt on Kevin that that he's willing to spill. And we all know how vindictive George is and how he likes to use information to hurt people.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, I've actually spoken to Watt about this. I think you saw that. Did you see the prank access video where I was talking to him?
Was it when you were in Richmond?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, was it when the group of was it you four went over to his place?
Yeah, it was Tony, Boston, and Meth. Four of us went there to talk to him, and I asked Watt directly, "Why are you friends with George?" He's like, "Oh, we both have an interest in theater." And what else did I say? I said
Yeah,
I mentioned that that George wasn't very nice to him, and I asked, "Why are you friends with somebody who's not nice to you?" And also, the shit that he said about the N word. Oh boy, did that get me angry.
yeah, yeah.
Because he was being a passive little bitch.
Yeah, I do remember that video. I think you were also giving him, reading him the riot act about his alcoholism, if I remember correctly.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say read him the riot act. I was trying to reach out to him, um, because I've known people who had problems like that,
Hmm.
um, and I hate to see it in other people. I did have sympathy for what in that respect. And, I honestly do want to see people getting better.
Yeah.
But then it devolved into like him making up like really lame excuses for using the N word, and boy, it's I don't get many chances to go off on somebody like that, but
Mm.
yeah, I think he deserved it.
Yeah, me too. No, those videos were great. We definitely have to move into GoonCon. A lot to talk about there. And those videos were great. I think
Oh yeah,
Boston made
absolutely.
them. I know Deus made some too. Um, yeah, my like as a viewer, uh, I thought GoonCon would be like y'all would go there, maybe do one live stream, maybe make a summary video when you get back. I wasn't expecting like y'all to document everything you did. That was so awesome.
Oh, it
And
was. Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, we forgot to talk about Roger.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. What's your opinion on AIDS team member Roger?
Uh, I think AIDS team member Roger is a fucking snake. I do believe, like Tony said, that he's a covert narcissist. Um, and actually, come to think of it, I don't have. Well, I do make fun of Roger for uh, for his music. I've done that a couple of times, and um, he's honestly like the weirdest looking guy that I've ever seen in my entire life. I saw him like face to face.
Hmm.
Um, he, in a word, he's lanky. Like, I remember he was holding on to the door like it was helping him stand up because he had the
Yeah.
body of a slinky. It was,
Right.
and I remember his eyes were just like darting back and forth. Like he creeped me out. He really did. And yeah, he knew he was wrong when Tony was busting his ass. That's why he tried to slap the camera
Mm,
out of Boston's hand.
yeah.
And that see, I honestly did not expect Roger to throw down. That's
Yeah.
why I was caught so off guard by that.
Oh, I bet. I mean, even just watching it, I can't imagine any viewers saw that coming. So, yeah, Matt, you were an eyeball witness to, one of the most interesting things I think to happen in this saga. Can you give us your play-by-play of what was going through your head during the Tony Roger fight?
It's a weird feeling. I'm not really sure like how to describe it.
Hmm.
It's like meeting like a washed up celebrity at a convention that no one is waiting in line for.
I get that.
Um, what was going through my head with during the Roger confrontation? Um, I did laugh at him for being a goof, and I just like sat there and watched to see what would happen. I could tell he was getting angry because he was saying "fuck you, you're a piece of shit" and stuff like that. But the instant when he looked at the camera and then stepped forward, I was just like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 man!" Because that caught me completely off guard. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, and as it's not often that I see like a fight in real life. Um, and I didn't want Tony to get hurt, even though Tony was handling himself well. He
Hmm.
could have he could have easily messed Roger up, but he chose not to. And honestly, I think that's commendable
Yeah.
when you hold your strength back. But then in the end, he kind of had to hit him to like get him to back off.
Hmm.
And then afterwards, he gave Roger an out, saying, "Do you want to continue with this?" He's like, "No, I don't." He's like, "Then put your fucking hands down." And I was told by somebody, I forget who, that I picked up Roger's glasses and handed them back to him, but I honestly don't remember doing that, which I thought was weird.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure the adrenaline was going.
Yeah. Also, the part where Roger pushes Tony against the wall,
Hmm.
Mel actually grabbed the back of. She was in big sister mode. She grabbed the back of my shirt and lightly tugged me back. Um, I mean, I wasn't going to interfere or anything, but I saw why she did it. She
Yeah.
wanted me to like give the guy space and you know let them do their thing.
Mel, speaking of Mel, she put me on the floor in those videos. Really, you all did. One of my favorite moments about all of those is when you first get up to Watt, and George was on the phone on speaker. I believe, like,
Yeah,
you can hear George say, like, "Are they there now?" And then
yeah,
all four of you are like, "Yeah."
yeah.
And then
Mel was
didn't
like,
Mel say, like, "Hey, fatty"?
yeah, she said something along the lines of that. Also, there's like a part in between that wasn't recorded. He was the one who suggested that we talk about it outside, so we did.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's
then like
interesting.
yeah, I wonder why he asked to talk about it outside. Also, I noticed that one of the neighbors actually stopped to watch us for like 30 seconds as we were grilling Watt.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't notice him walk away, but I noticed he stood there and just kind of stared. He was like an older guy. Like, like if you see a confrontation, you're going to stop, look for a
Mhm.
second, and then you're just going to walk away because you don't want to get caught staring.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knew it was getting heated.
What was it like walking the stalking grounds of George in Richmond, Virginia?
Ooh, what was it like?
Yeah.
Well, for one thing, I was I was with people that I quickly became friends with, so I think that eased the tension a bit. But I was giddy with excitement.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like it's like walking to a movie set of a cult film. Like here, this is where this scene was shot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like that. Um, yeah, it was
What
a it was a good feeling.
What was your favorite highlight of GoonCon?
Ah, oh boy, that's you're asking me to pick my favorite color M&M right now.
Was there any GG location you enjoyed visiting the most?
um, any GG location that I enjoyed visiting the most? Probably Buffalo Wild Wings, where we like sat down, chatted, had beers, and
Mhm.
then like put his poster up. Or maybe it was outside of Watt's apartment.
Is there anything in particular you'd like to make a priority, or anything you would want to do that you didn't get a chance this time if you go to GoonCon 2024?
What I would like to do if I go to GoonCon 2024, I'd like to see the Fatso in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were hoping that George would show up, but being the big old bitch that he is, he never did.
No. Yeah, he really ran away. What do you
Oh,
think?
he did.
What do you think a in-person meeting with George would be like? How do you think that'd play out?
I think he would have been super angry. Um, I think he would have wanted to fight one of us. Honestly,
Yeah.
like a cornered fox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's doing it both out of anger and out of fear.
Right.
Um, I, I'm pretty sure that if he met one of us, he would have tried to like thrown a heavy object at us, like a hammer or something.
Hmm.
And oh, as a matter of fact, um, you saw me with like the dangly earrings in the
Yeah.
videos, right?
Hmm.
Tony asked me to take them off in case George tried to rip them off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he didn't want to take any chances.
No, that's good looking out. I wouldn't have even thought of that. But yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Why do you think people, I mean, such as yourself, who is, you know, 21 years into this, why do you think people stay engaged in this for so long?
For the simple reason that George keeps responding. It's too much fun.
Yeah.
And I still can't believe that I finally got a mention from him.
How does that feel to be called out?
Oh, it felt fucking great. Of course, he didn't know my name, and I'm not sure if he does. Maybe he knows my real name. What took me by surprise was the stupid nickname. The stupid nicknames that he gave me. He's
Uh-huh.
the cancer patient with the earring in his ear. I'm like, cancer patient does make sense because I have like a fully shaved head. But yeah, the earring in my ear as opposed to what, like my belly button. And this is the most confusing part. He called me Condom Man.
Right. Yeah, I still don't get that.
I don't get it either. Do I look like a condom? Do I hand out condoms? Am I like a latex superhero? Like, what are you talking about, George? It was the dumbest thing one of the dumbest things I've ever heard him say in a sea of dumb things.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot to choose from. So you've been making some content yourself on YouTube. What inspired you to start creating content, and do you have a plan on what you might do with your YouTube channel?
Well, the Mad Eye YouTube channel I created specifically to be a troll. What inspired me? You know what? I think what inspired me was the validation that I got from the other goons. Um, yeah, I remember one thing that made me feel validated was during a live stream where we were looking at uh, a sovereign citizen. Did you see the sovereign citizen one? The guy with the long hair that walks into the government building.
I didn't see that live stream. I think I've seen that actual video though.
Okay, because there was like this one old lady who had like a sunken in face and no teeth, and Lewis and I were making Popeye jokes about her, saying stuff like, yeah, we were making jokes like, I go on adventures because I lost my dentures, stuff like that, and we were just doing that back and forth in the comments, and Boston Soul was laughing his ass off reading those. Like it, and then at GoonCon, you know, Lewis told me, "You're a peer. You're a peer among us,"
Oh,
and I felt that.
yeah, that's really cool to hear. I always feel fortunate to be a part of this community. I think it's a lot of really good
Yeah,
people.
and I guess in a way, as a certified goon, I'm obligated to make content. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
feel that.
yeah, and the guys told me I'm a pretty fun guy, that I'm funny, stuff like that, and those are really validating things, and that's really what inspired me to create content, mostly centered around like food, because George is obsessed with things that he can't have. You know what I mean? Like lobster rolls, fresh cheeseburgers, stuff like that. That I really want to like dig it into that piggy.
Yeah.
Also, I did make one video making fun of Roger. I don't know if you saw it yet.
Maybe.
I was holding up a target.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you were at Walmart, like Walmart,
Yes.
right? Holding that target. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured, you know what? Might as well fuck with the guy.
What was it like meeting goons in real life, making that transition from internet to IRL?
The funny thing is, when I went to meet the goons, it was my first time in my life flying on an airplane by myself from my home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've flown home by myself, but not the other way around. So that was a new thing for me. Um, and I remember how giddy I was when I walked into the airport. And the first guy I met was Boston Soul, and he was with Meth as well. And it felt like we were high school friends meeting again, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like that welcoming. He's a great cook too. Has his own homemade barbecue sauce. And then I met Tony, which was awesome. I met a bunch of the other goons. Like most of the goons I met at the Airbnb. Yanks was a very nice surprise. Lewis, of course, I've mentioned before.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there was also Nurse Joy. There was Deus. Now I'm actually really impressed with Deus's video game knowledge.
Really?
Yeah, I just heard him like talk about like the lore behind King of Fighters, which was actually super interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's always really interesting to learn things about goons kind of outside of George, because I mean, as much as George doesn't want to believe this, we do all have lives outside of this and other hobbies and interests, and it's really cool to learn about that.
Yeah, definitely. Also, we got to talk about the grave site.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it sounds like several trips were made to the gravesite, but at least one you all went together, right?
Yeah, it was like super weird to to go see his gravesite, and we were honestly looking around, expecting George to show up at any time, at
Hmm.
any time, and we all took turns like taking pot shots at George, which is like super fun, and also the "We Are the Champions" at the end, where
Oh
we all
yeah.
got together, just complete unification in that moment.
I bet that was a really cool moment.
Oh, it
Was
was.
was the grass dead around the grave?
It was. I don't know why. Aren't there groundskeepers, or is that left to like the individual, like the family members to take care of it?
There
Or
are groundskeepers. I'm pretty positive it's because he put that tarp over it like the week or two before and killed the grass. Just another example of George making the exact wrong decision.
yep, making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah. And as yeah, I went to the cemetery when I went to Richmond too, and I thought it was like a very beautiful area. Um and
Oh, it is.
classic George to make his father's grave actually stand out by how ugly it looks because he was trying to protect it.
Yep, it's a symbol of how he treated his father's legacy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Perfectly said. Did you all go to 1307? You didn't, did you?
No, I know Mel wanted to go, but I think we all decided to see Roger at the end because Roger was actually the very last event that happened before I had to go to the airport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, literally right after we left Roger's place, they had to drop me off. Actually, Tony dropped me, Boston, and Mel off at the airport. I actually took a shared a plane with Mel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the layover to New York City.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and we just like hung out for a bit. I FaceTimed my mom and had Mel speak to her.
Oh.
Yeah,
There aren't many people in my personal life who know about this whole Gorgeous George saga. I think it's a hard thing to explain to people who haven't seen a bunch of his videos and don't know who he is. If you were watching a George tirade and someone saw it and said, "Hey, who's that?" How would you explain to them who Gorgeous George is?
I would just explain to them that yeah, that's gorgeous George Alexander Yared. He was a public access television host in Richmond for a quarter of a century, and he is by all accounts a terrible person. I would explain that he is a racist, a xenophobe, a homophobe, uh, a misogynist. Just hates just hates everybody. And I would just tell him about all the awful things he did, like calling that black hotel employee the N word.
Hmm.
Um, about how he called, I think, one of the nurses at the vet's office a cunt as well because they couldn't help Fontaine. I think it was something along the lines of that. And he felt entitled to talk to them like that because he donated $50.
Right, to like a charity, right?
Yeah, to a charity. Um, I would also explain to that person that he's been demonstrably creepy towards women, like giving out flowers to baristas and they'd have to hide in the back. And also, someone claimed to have worked with George at a Denny's. And one of the things he did was constantly talk about himself and that the girls would stay away from him. I think it was that same Denny's where um, he was picking on that cook, and the cook responded by inviting him like to the parking lot to talk, and he ended up macing George.
Yeah.
Yeah, and apparently management looked the other way when George complained because they hated him, and he got fired in like a week anyway.
Yeah, that tracks for who George is as a person.
Yeah, I would just explain. I would also explain like how he lost his house and everything. I was telling my brother about this because he didn't know. He knew of George, but he didn't know like all the details.
Hmm.
And I implored to him that George is not a good person. Is implored the correct word in this context?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure because I only have a high school education. But anyway, um, yeah, I basically told him about all the awful shit that he's done. I told him about like the whole Jamie thing. Um, and I let my little sister know a lot about George, and she especially is disgusted with him about the whole Jamie thing.
Yeah. That's a hard story to hear for sure.
Yeah,
Do you see value in trolling or is it just for fun?
I think the fun is the value. Like when you play like a video game, if you're having fun, that's value. You have positive memories. If you see like a really good movie, that's valuable. You enjoyed yourself. You see, I'm of the opinion that if you enjoy what you're doing, how can it be a waste of time?
Yeah, that's very well said. I like that.
Mhm.
Well, Mad Eye, that's all I have for today. I really appreciate you coming on and doing a Goon Profile. These are so awesome to do, and it's really great to learn about y'all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was great talking to you.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening, and I hope you all have a great day.